Welcome back in, builders. This week we're taking a look at the newest nation added to Dominions, Zemaitia, Sylvan Knights. Zemaitia is a woodland realm of harsh winters and short summers, inhabited by humans and chudes, an exalted race of great strength and beauty. Once the chudes were at war with the Vanir, but with the arrival of the Black Knights, all changed. With some of their kin allied with the Vanir to fight the Black Knights, the chudes of Zemaitia withdrew to defend their forest home. But the Black Knights were unstoppable, and the Chude armies were defeated. The Knights entered the heart of the forest and erected a mighty fortress, Fort Verdun, where the dwarmer of the land was strongest. But over time, the Chudes regrouped. For a time, Fort Verdun stood fast, but as the war against the Vanarus dragged on and the Iron Kingdom withdrew, Fort Verdun was left to defend itself and became isolated in a hostile land steeped in magic. The fortress and its inhabitants were slowly transformed by the magic of the Dream Wild. The last human Hockmeister struck a deal with the Chudes and swore them allegiance. With the aid of the Black Knights, the Chudes of Zemaitia defended their home against the nascent Vanarusian kingdom. For centuries, the Zarmatians went into hiding. When Vanarus eventually crumbled, the human princes replaced the last of the Vinjarls, and the Chudes of Zemaitia and their Sylvan Knights emerged from their sequestration and challenge the princes of Bogarus. So this is a very cool nation. We have a kind of as it's mentioned, a Sylvan nation, a little more close to nature and glamour and the Dream Wild. And we've got some non-humans that have made it all the way to late age, which is always good to see because that's one of the things I find really cool. 4 national features. Our race is humans and chudes. Zemaitian people have partial cold resistance and prefer cold scales +1. For military, we have human medium infantry, chude warriors, skin shifters, and the sacred Sylvan Knights. Magic-wise, we are good at nature, glamour, earth, and we have a little bit of air and fire. We have the summonable beings of Rus, which is quite an extensive list. Our priests are weak. For scales and blesses, we have a cold limit of +1 and a magic limit of +1. The magic limit is pretty nice because we do have several things that have magic power. For buildings, we build primitive forts. That actually means castles in this case, and we start with a citadel in our capital. Our temples cost 300 gold in forests. Always great to see a little discount there. Also plays in nicely with our like of both having cold and magic scales to fight in. So we're going to definitely want to try to push our dominion out the best we can. Obviously, everyone wants to do that, but I think it's extra pertinent here. For sites, we have the Moonwood. This is a bunch of our cap-only stuff. As you can see, we have a lot of those. Also grants us 2 nature gems and a glamour gem. And we have Fort Verdun, which allows us to get our sacred heavy moose cavalry along with a nature gem. Units and sacreds. We have a very interesting mix here. So we have the descendants of Rus along with some humans that are, I don't think they're actually Ulmish despite their heritage because they don't have the lowered magic resistance, but we have humans using Ulmish technology along with the chudes, along with some other recruit anywhere humans that are not the worst, at least for a few of them. Starting us off here, we have a very interesting unit. We have a Zemite crossbowman. It's good, but man, this is expensive. 10 gold, 30 resources, 9 recruitment points. Better than human stats with the extra HP and strength. We also have the cold resistance. Armed with a short sword that they're good with and an arbalest, which is a range 50, basically heavy crossbow. Fires once every 3 rounds. Range is, again, 50. Extra precision and, of course, the ammunition. Now, it's going to be hard to mass these because of the 30 resources, but we're probably going production anyways. So if you can get some of these out, the range 50 is great. We can outrange a lot of things. It hits stupid hard at 15 piercing damage. Now remember, this is both piercing damage and armor piercing. So again, we're going to half their protection, then take 15% off of it. Most of the time, crossbows do about 11 damage. So the fact that we have 15 is ridiculous. This is going to absolutely pin dudes down. Armor-wise, we have a plate cuirass of Ulm and a half helmet of Ulm. So we are also very heavily geared. Yeah, a crossbow is not going to get stopped by this, but anything else is going to struggle to get through this. So defending themselves against even flyers isn't too bad with 16 protection and a short sword that they're pretty good with. Just, it's going to be difficult to actually get a lot of these. Also of note, we like it very cold, and these troops do not have snow movement. So this 10 is more like an 8. So it's going to be very slow to move these guys around. Next, we have also, this is part of our starting army. We have these and the pikemen, which isn't the worst starting army. Next, we have the Zemaitai pikeneers. I actually like this one a decent amount. Again, kind of expensive. 10 gold, 26 resources, 9 recruitment points. You have better than human stats again. 10 morale is pretty notable. 10 magic resistance. Again, we're not those Ulmish troops. We do have the cold resist. Map move is 12, so a little bit better than the arbalest, although again, no snow move. So we're actually going to be about like a 10, essentially. Wielding a pike, which is a length 5, 10 attack for 18 piercing damage. I wish that was a little higher attack, but you know, this is a standard line troop. Can't wish for everything. This is decent. I mean, 18 piercing damage is enough to go up against most line troops, and you can repel. Most things are not going to have a length 5 weapon. We have the same armor, the plate cuirass of Ulm and a half helmet of Ulm. I don't mind these. If you're not taking crossbow fire, these are all right as a line troop, I would say. Low recruitment points, mainly need those resources, quite a lot of resources, almost a 3-to-1, which is pretty unheard of. That's pretty rare. Overall, these are fine. Next, we have a Zemaitai castle guard, very reminiscent of middle-aged Ulmish troops. This is essentially a warhammer because it's piercing and blunt that he's pretty darn good with. Plate cuirass, the half helmet, and a tower shield of Ulm, so good gear here. 13 gold, 30 resources, 16 recruitment points. So again, 2-to-1 on the resources to recruitment points. Good stat line here. This is a good stat line. Better than the 16 average protection. And a weapon that also is better than the 16. Good line troop. Hard to mass, but if you can, pretty darn good. Even crossbow fire, having that tower shield. So if you get the parry on the crossbow bolt, you'd be looking at the equivalent of 35 protection. So we half it. Let's call it 13, 12, about 12, 11, 12 protection. And remember, most crossbows hit for about 11. So actually enough to maybe be able to protect yourself against crossbow fire. In addition to the cold resist, they also have a castle defense bonus. A chunk of these guys in your doorway will definitely help your fortress hold while you weather them down with the arbalest fire. Next, we move into the chude warriors. These are in capital and non-fort forests. So that's going to kind of inform how we want to expand quite a bit, because these are pretty darn good. 20 gold, 16 resources, 13 recruitment points. So a little pricey, but they're not bad. Much better than human stats. 17 HP, 13 strength, 12 attack, 11 defense. That's a good stat line. Good magic resist, good morale. Gear-wise, they're a little bit lighter, but not horrifically so. They still have a 14. And they're dual-wielding a broadsword and an axe with 13 and 12 attack respectively. So very, very good fighters here. Dealing 19 and 21 damage respectively. Very nice. Slashing damage is good at damaging shields. So even heavily shielded troops, you'll probably hack your way through the shield if you even have to. Also of note, the chude troops, in addition to their cold resist, also have snow move. So these guys are map move 14 and actually going to be 14 because most of the time we're going to be in cold areas. These are also stealthy troops. They're not the stealthiest, but 40 is still not terrible. Absolutely will help you do some raiding with that. They have forest survival to help them move around, get through that forest terrain better. And the ambidextrous is what's keeping their attack nice and good. Very interesting troop here. Very reminiscent of a lot of berserker type troops. Note this does not have berserker, but even without that, this is a really, really good stat line. Next, we move into some cap onlys. We have the Zemaitai skin shifter and the Zemaitai chude skin shifter. So the human version here, better than human stats, 25 gold, 6 resources, 36 recruitment points. It comes natively with regen 10%, cold resist, snow move, stealth, forest survival, mountain survival, Magic Power 1. Remember, Magic Power gives you extra attack, skill, strength, I believe defense. Very, very strong to have that. We can easily have Magic 3 if we so desire. So imagine adding 3 to this stat line is pretty bonkers. Also ambidextrous, again, that just helps his weapons. He is dual wielding double short swords. He is not the best at 10, but remember, we can easily up that by fighting in magic scales. And the damage is actually fine. It is 17 piercings or slashing damage. That's good enough. Armor-wise, this is where we fall down a little bit. We have furs and a fur mask. Not really enough to keep you alive. Now, these are skin shifters. These go into the werewolves. This is very reminiscent of a lot of those northern werewolf tropes we see on other nations. It's basically the same guy, but he's dual wielding short swords. This is fine. If you're going up against lighter troops, the double attack is good for attack density. The region, the snow move, good. This is with the stealth also. Maybe do some stealth raiding with these guys. Against low amounts of PD, these should be able to chop it up pretty effectively, unless it's like crossbows and heavy cav. Second, we have the chude skin shifter. This one is wielding a battle axe. This is more of the Rusian version. 40 gold, 5 resources, 33 recruitment points. Again, much better than human stats. The battle axe is length 2, which actually means you'll get a surprising amount of repels against people using like broadswords. We have furs and a fur mask, unfortunately, again. Stat line is very similar, but this one is a berserker. It's a berserker +1, which is fine. It keeps them in the fight. Little extra attack, little extra strength. The defense is whatever. Also has recuperation. One of the big downsides to these survivable skin shifter type units is they tend to rack up afflictions. Now, is this one better than having the region of the other guy? I don't know. These ones, when they get damaged, shapeshift into the bears. Again, very Rusian. So I believe the bears have a bite and a claw attack. So 2 attacks. The werewolves have a bite and double claw. So 3 attacks. So in general, I think the werewolves are probably better unless you need the 26 slashing damage instead of the high teens damage of those short swords. So it's still very usable. Again, also has that magic power, so the stats can be boosted up relatively easy. Just all around a good troop. Now, unfortunately for both of these guys, our Sacred is a chonker, and he's going to eat up a lot of the recruitment that we otherwise would have in the capital. So it's going to be hard to get these in any numbers if we want to get our Sacreds. Speaking of those Sacreds, here is our Sylvan Knight. First thing of note here, these are a cost 2 holy point Sacred. These are really, really good and they are strong, but you're not going to have humongous numbers. So just be aware of that. Even if you started with 6 holy points, that's only 3 recruits per turn. Just keep that in mind. They have cold resist, snow move, forest survival, magic power, and they're skilled riders. Cost-wise, this is where things start falling apart a little bit. 110 gold, 92 resources, 67 recruitment points. So if you were getting 3 of these guys, that's 276 resources out of your capital. On turn 1, you can only get 1 of them. That's a bit of an oof. Stat-wise, this is for the rider. 20 HP is amazing. That's twice as good as a normal human. Good strength, good attack, okay defense, 23 protection, and it's actually 23 protection, and we have a kite shield of Ulm. 22 protection on a kite shield is really, really nice. I like kite shields quite a lot. Again, if we block a bolt with our shield, that gives us 45 protection. Now, you will still get chip damage from crossbows, but this is definitely not going to be a guy who's likely to get 1 shot at least. Beyond that, he has a full lance that he's going to hit with 14 attack, 20 base damage. You're going to do extra on that charge. Note this is an actual lance, so once you use it once, it's gone. And you move over to your Morning Star. Morning Stars are fine. 14 attack, 20 piercing or blunt damage. You get an extra 2 attack versus shielded units, which can be kind of handy. Also note that that is lowering our defense by 2. Not relevant here, but on the commander, we could replace this and up our defense a little bit. Gear-wise, we have that full plate of Ulm, the full helmet of Ulm, and then the kite shield. Very, very nice. So this guy hits plenty hard, even with just baseline stats. And he is on a Sacred Moose. This is a size 6 mount in plate barding of Ulm. He actually has decent armor. We love to see that. In addition to that, While being sacred, he still has cold resist, snow move, forest survival. He is an animal. He at least has 8 magic resist, not lower. That is a little bit of a weak point here. Something you might want to try to patch up a little bit. But attack-wise, he has a length 0 kick with 14 attack, 18 blunt damage. That's good enough to actually kill things, like line troop kill things. And he has antlers. 13 attack on a length 1 with 18 slashing damage. One thing of note here that I thought was really funny, when I was fighting other cavalry, every once in a while I would see a rappel of antlers on hooves. So just kind of hilarious there. Yeah, not much else to say about that. It's a good mount. A little bit of a weakness here on the magic resist, but that just is cavalry in general. Not the worst I've ever seen. 42 HP is nice with that good protection. I think this is a perfectly usable sacred. Just, they're going to be pretty elite. You're not going to have a ton of these. They are cap only. They cost you 2 sacred points. So at best, you could get 5 per turn if you had 10 Dominion. In the way I play games, it's very unusual that we ever get to 10. I think we've done it like once or twice in the entire game. So a little iffy there. I do like that these are the type of sacreds that are good enough out of the box that you could just use them. And anything you give them just makes them better. I don't think this is a Hellbless situation just because our numbers are too low. They do very well with a little bit of oomph behind them. We'll talk about blesses when we get to that point, but overall, I'm pretty happy with this sacred. I love the memes. It's hilarious. I was just commenting the other day. I wanted heavy moose, and we got heavy moose. Next up, we have some lighter troops. These are all going to be forest recruits. We have the Zemaitai archer. He has a short bow. He's pretty crap. In addition, he's a skirmisher. I will give it that maybe a few of these guys in skirmish formation to eat crossbows, that actually is a decent use. I will pay 8 gold, 5 resources, and 5 recruitment points to have these guys eating crossbow bolts rather than, say, a chude warrior eating a crossbow bolt. So there's a use there. Next up, we have a Zemaitai warrior. Spear with only 13 pierce damage. He has a javelin. It's a human strength. It's a human guy with a javelin. These are also undisciplined. I don't like these. I wouldn't get them. Zemaitai warrior again. This guy has an axe. I do like that at least better. The spear with the 13 damage is never going to do anything in late age. An 18 damage axe is okay, but again, undisciplined and skirmisher. Not a huge fan of this. Next, we have the Zemaitai infantry. A little bit better here. We've dropped the undisciplined. We have a spear again, though, so I just don't like it. 13 pierce is just, unless you know exactly what you're fighting and that's going to be relevant, I just don't like it. I just don't like it. Maybe have these guys eat a lance, but if I'm going to eat a lance, I may as well drop these 8 gold guys in front, or even this 9 gold guy. Finally, we have one I actually do like, the Zemaitai heavy infantry. Again, can be recruited in all forests. Has the base stats, including the stealth that we've been looking at. Has a broadsword, 11 attack, 16 slashing damage, is totally fine. In fact, this was a heavy, like a main troop for Midgard, basically. So fine. They have human stats, a little bit better magic resistance, actually. The chainmail halberd, an iron cap, and a shield gives them 15 protection, 16 on the head. Plenty usable. I think these are actually pretty nice. If you go heavy into production scales, you can usually get enough of these out of a forest to be somewhat relevant. If you are not getting the chude warriors for some reason. Chude warriors are cheaper on resources, I'll note, so you can definitely get more of them. But these are fine. They will work. And the fact that we can get them outside of forts makes them pretty useful, whereas otherwise they may not be. Heroes, commanders, and prophet. In my test games, I did not get any heroes, so I can't confirm if they do or don't. Both my mod and the inspector have not been updated with the new info. So if you know about a hero, post what it is down in the comments and help people out with that one. Going up to our commander line, we start off with a scout. He's fine, 35 gold, 5 resources. Actually, he's probably a little underpriced, if I'm being honest, because not only do you get a human scout, which normally would cost that, he also has cold resistance and snow move and mountain survival and forest survival. So a better than average scout. Next, we have a Zemaitai chieftain. Can also be recruited in all forests. 60 gold, 18 resources, 1 recruitment point. A 75 leadership, better than human stats. does have cold resist, does have snow move, is stealthy, that's notable, and force survival. Has a broadsword he's pretty good with, has a javelin that's kind of a whatever. Does have better than human strength though, so at least that's something. Iron cap, chainmail, cuirass, and a shield. Fine. Has stealth. At least he can lead some stealth stuff around. Next, we have a Senilius. This is a Priest 1 Holy unit. Very reminiscent of a Rus type troop. Cold resist 5 and snow move. 150 leadership. Buds +2 for up to 4 squads. That's excellent. 215 gold, 23 resources, 2 recruitment points. Better than human stats. Do note, no shield. Has a plate cuirass, no helmet either. So pretty susceptible to range fire of really any type. But other than that, he's fine. Definitely would like at least a shield, but I don't know if we'll ever get to that. We do have spoilers. We do have a crafter mage, so maybe we could afford to get him just a little light gear if he's like a really, really, really important commander for you. Next, we have a Vadun. Can be recruited in all forests. So note, not sacred. So all you need is a lab, and then you can get these guys. There are 2 recruitment points, so that would be slow to recruit, but that's fine, generally speaking. 170 gold is not breaking the bank. A little bit better than human stats with the 11 HP. Good magic resist, good morale. 136 gold per year for 11 research is on the inefficient side, but do note you're probably taking magic 2 or 3. That would bump this up and make it tip over to efficiency. He comes in with nature 1, glamour 1, and a 100% chance of fire, air, earth, nature, glamour. Generally speaking, I don't think these guys are going to be particularly great combat mages, just because those paths are so wide and we don't have a way to get into a communion normally. If you made them communion gear, sure, I guess that would be fine. I think the main use for these guys, in all honesty, is holding dreamstones to be better researchers. There is some cross-pathing, there is some use here. Nature 1 can animate trees, can do some bark skin buffing. It's not the worst. Ditto with the glamour. Do note if you put up Twilight, now we have a glamour 2 mage guaranteed. So we could do like personal bark skin, eagle eyes, and then we could do some glamour magic. That could be something there. Overall, it's a fine mage. It's a non-sacred forest recruit, so that does give it some extra interest there. Next, we have a Vadun Mage Smith. Very, very good mage. Holy crap, what a great mage here. 185 gold, 4 resources, 2 recruitment points. Has better than human stats. He has 12 HP. Also has a little extra strength. He's been, he hits the gym between lab sessions. 6 protection, nothing to write home about or anything. Good magic resist, good morale. Actually has 50 leadership and 20 magic leadership. Not the worst if you had to help like carry some reinforcements around or something. Guaranteed Earth 2. Earth 2 is the magic number for Earth because we can Earth power to 3, and 3 lets us do most of what we want to do for Earth. We can buff protection, we can buff the armor's protection, we can do strength of giants, we can do weapons of sharpness, etc., etc. All the good stuff comes out of that. We can even Blade Wind if that's relevant. I don't like Blade Wind, but it's not the worst spell depending on the target. In addition, we have a 100% chance of getting fire, which opens up a little bit of magma, nature, or glamour. The nature and glamour are kind of whatever. The nature would let you eagle eyes, and maybe if you are gonna Blade Wind, at least you have eagle eyes on top of it, I guess. I'm not a huge fan of that one. And I like the earth protection more than I like the nature protection. The glamour can be nice to keep you safe, put up some mirror images, blurs, etc., etc. But none of that's his main stick. 11 research for 148 gold is inefficient, but again, you'll probably have magic scale, so that's not as bad as it looks. And you're going to make this guy anyways. Why are you going to do that? Well, it's not the cold resist, it's the 10 resource bonus. This is incredible. So we have a somewhat inefficient research mage that gives you 10 resources. That means that in your fort, you build these guys until you can at least recruit out all your recruitment points. So you can get down to essentially 0 resources, 0 recruitment points left. That's going to be really, really nice. In addition, these randoms can be useful because we have forge bonus of +1. That means we lower the gem cost by 1. You could have these guys make themselves a pair of earth boots and a dwarven hammer. Now you're looking at forge bonus 3. You're looking at some very cheap items, very cheap. Unfortunately, these guys don't have the air. It's probably not worth empowering in air, because that's going to be 40 gems, and I doubt you're going to make that many alquils. So that's a little unfortunate. They can make the glamour stones at a discount. They can make homunculi at a discount. So those are two different research items that you can make at a decent discount. Also could be a little bit of an argument to try to rush construction 5. That wouldn't be the worst. And then you could really supercharge your research. Overall, very nice. Good combat mage, good utility in your forts, a mediocre researcher, but not pure misery at least, and the price isn't breaking the bank. Next, we have the chude Synanius. This is a recruiting capital and non-fort forests. He does require both a lab and a temple, but that may be worth it. 215 gold, 13 resources, 2 recruitment points. Comes in with much better than human stats because he's a chude and has 100 leadership. Is a priest level 1 and a 100% chance to get nature or glamour. Good pathing here, actually. You can spam yourself with some self buffs, or you could just do some warrior illusions or animate some trees. Gives your commander something to do, which I really, really like on these type of units. Because he's sacred, he's not too expensive on the upkeep, only 86 a year. That's not bad. And at least his paths are useful. Unlike sometimes you get like, I don't know, a one in a path that you're just like, one fire on a leader is not going to really do much. This is pretty useful. Also note that while expensive, you could give this guy a gem and then he could do a nature 2 or a glamour 2. I don't know exactly what you would want to do with that, but that could be relevant for just a surprise spell that you could pop out. He is also stealthy, so a great choice to lead around some of those stealthy troops to go raid. Could be pretty handy there. Broadsword that he's quite good with. Chainmail, again, no hat, no shield. Those chudes, man, those chudes. Okay, next up, we have the Antlered Hawkmeister. This is our cap-only sacred leader, and he is a unit. He is an absolute unit. 300 gold, 92 resources, 2 recruitment points. Do note, he is also 2 sacred points to recruit. So if you get one of these guys, that's already 2 points off. So if you start with 6 Dominion, that means you could get 2 sacreds to go with him. That being said, pretty good. Nature 1, Glamour 1, Priest level 1, 9 research. You're not going to get him to research. No randoms. He does have Combat Caster. Unfortunately, there's not much here I care about Combat Caster, but that will help him try to get his buffs off if he gets interrupted. So that is one bonus there. Do note that he has Magic Power 1, so his already pretty good stats could have a +3, let's say, because we do have Magic +1 on our skills. That's a lot of stats. That's a lot of stats. He's a skilled rider, of course, wielding the same lance and Morningstar. Again, with the Morningstar, that's lowering our defense by 2. So while he has 11 here, if you gave him a crafted piece of gear, a weapon, that actually could be a 13, which is kind of significant for keeping him safe. And especially if we gave him like a length 3, some kind of spear, just for example, would up his defense and would give him repels. And he's got a great base attack at 14, so he would actually be pretty good at repelling. Has the same gear as the other sacreds. I will note, again, the nature means that we can personal bark skin, which ups his protection from 23 all around to like 26, I believe, with the bark skin on. 26 is what I consider relatively the baseline for safe pretender expansion. So this guy will have the defense of pretenders. Like invulnerability pretenders have 25 invulnerability. This is one higher than that, just for reference. That's really good. In addition, with the glamour magic, that means you could do mirror images, you could blur yourself, you could give yourself personal luck. This is an instance where maybe giving him a couple glamour gems, he would be able to do Dance of Ephemeral Swords, which do 3 false damage attacks every round. Or maybe he could do, Crown of Bewilderment enchant on himself, which would really help keep him a lot safer, especially if he's getting surrounded. Overall, very, very nice. The Moose, again, has 2 attacks, same things like the other ones we looked at. Really nice here too. I like these guys a lot. The way I would use them if I was going to go that route, with an okay bless I think we could use these like we use the Black Templars of Middle Age Ulm, where you're going to do a commander with a bodyguard. Now, in this instance, you're either going to do 2 or 4 bodyguards, most likely, because you probably are going to start with 6 Dominion, and that's just how the numbers crunch out. Doing that, doing some expansion testing with it, it works, but it's not invulnerable. I'll show you the bless that I used, and you'll see, but it was okay. You do have to pick your targets a little bit. You can't just brainless charge into anything. That being said, a little bit of gear here. This is a great little thug chassis. This is not breaking the bank particularly. He is going to be a little bit gear dependent, but when I say that, really what he wants is he just wants a replacement of the Morningstar with something else, maybe a bracer of protection to up that protection just a smidgen more, and then everything else is gravy. I don't even know exactly what I'd give him because that kite shield's so bloody good. The helmets are fine. So really it's probably going to be a weapon, and the 2 miscellaneous items is what I would mostly look at here. Bracer protection would be really, really cheap. That would be like 2 gems if we have a Dwarven Hammer. Some kind of length 3 weapon, maybe a nature one, just because we have 2 nature gem income. Could be a cheapish way to do that, but whatever would work there. And then you have 1 extra. So you could give him, I'm trying to think what would make the best. A handful of acorns would help eat lances for him. We could do the Barkskin Amulet if you wanted to save yourself a buff slot in your script. I don't know. I have to think about that a little bit more, but you definitely, I mean, there definitely is going to be some utility items that would be pretty good here. I do like that bracer protection though, because again, that just gets him up over that 25, 26 hump to very safe range. Also, if you are getting buffed with the temper armor type buffs, that does affect the bracers too. So you can really pump up this protection if he's getting buffed like an army thug. Really like these guys, even if they're expensive. Next, we have a Chude Vadun. This can be recruited in the capital and non-fort forests. This is a sacred mage, Earth 1, Nature 2, Glamour 1, Priest level 1, and a random of Fire, Air, Earth, or Glamour. Not the best, ironically enough. It's just very wide and not a ton that you would want to do with that. We have guaranteed Earth 2, so we don't need that. The Nature 2 does have its uses, I suppose, but we can do the protection buffs already from Earth that we're guaranteed to have. Did it with the Glamour, unless you're running Twilight and can guarantee them to get to Glamour 2, that's kind of whatever, especially for 375 gold. That's a pretty penny for what you get. 15 research for 150 a year is exactly on efficiency. So he does have that going for him. But for 375 gold, this guy is similar for half price. So I don't know on that one. Finally, we have the Antlered Vadun. This is our cap only mage. He is slow to recruit, 460 gold. Great stats because he's a chude, including 18 magic resist, 14 morale. He's 184 gold per year, so not the worst, almost efficient, although you're not going to get these guys for their research ability. Comes in with a guaranteed Earth 1, Nature 2, Glamour 2, Priest level, and 110% chance to get Fire, Air, Earth, Nature, or Glamour. Overall, these guys are fine. I do like them, especially if you get a Glamour guy. That gives you Glamour 3. Glamour 3 lets you either just hand cast Twilight, and or you can make the Glamour boosters. You need Glamour 3 to get started doing that. So that would be pretty handy there. Beyond that, he has Shapeshift. He turns into a moose. I will show you that here in just a second, which is a big HP chassis. Also maintains his stealth, which is nice. This would be one of his big strengths. You have a decent caster who can stealth along with some of your stealthy troops and support them with, let's say, a few gems. And let's say he does illusionary army, 20 illusion guys plus some of your guys. You should be able to take out most PD, especially if they're not ready for you, with relative safety. Even just him solo doing some either swarms or illusions could be pretty nasty. Does have that magic power. Pretty nice. Let's just take a peek at that moose chassis. I got one right here. So this is Lucas the Moosus. That he's one of him. He shapeshifts. Have 26 map moves, so their map move actually goes up a little bit while they're in moose form. 54 HP. That does make a relatively safe caster. If you start in the caster form, you have 19 HP. If you go to 0, you turn into the moose. So pretty unlikely to die to just a random bolt or something. So yeah, these guys are fine. Again, I think Twilight's going to be their friend. If you get a nature guy, you could also give him a Thistle Mace. He could do Strength of Gia, get himself even higher. These guys could do Howl when you get to that level. We could try to do like Relief. That's within range at that point. So we have some decent stuff coming in there. I think the Earth, again, is better on those other mages, but this is some self-buffing that would help keep you safe. I don't think we're looking at Moose Thugs because the Moose chassis only has his miscellaneous slots and only has 7 protection. Even buffing that up via magic, I don't think that's happening. I think if you want to go with thuggy type stuff, you're just going to look at our Antlered Hawkmeister here. Overall, good lineup here. We are good at the magic we can do. We have a little sprinkle of some air and some fire. I don't think that sees a lot of play, but that does allow us to craft Owlquills. That does allow us to make some nice fire items. A Mace of Eruption, for example, could be a use on a Hawkmeister, although I still kind of like the idea of the length 3 for the extra repel, but that does give you an AoE option, which can be really useful there. A Charcoal Shield to give these guys Fire Shield would also be another really nice thing. That would be something I would consider taking off a Kite Shield of Ulm to put on. That could be pretty darn handy there. Overall, I'm really liking the lineup here. Good leadership, has some stealth ability, has some crafting ability, has the resource utility on the Smith, has a Thug chassis, which is pretty nice. That it takes a Bless natively, which is always great. Has a good scout, has good magic that can do what they're trying to do. I really like these guys. We're also not completely cap dependent because we, if nothing else, can get the Smiths outside, and a Earth 2 is a perfectly acceptable combat mage. You can definitely find things for them to do. I like that quite a bit. Who would I make my profit here? Well, this is going to be a little bit of a weird one. I actually kind of like the Antlered Hawkmeister. Yeah, you'd have to delay a turn to get him out, but he's so survivable that I like that quite a bit. Even with no other gear, that makes him very, very survivable. If you didn't use him, we have guys that don't have helmets or shields on. That makes me very nervous. At least they're sacred. Well, no, I guess he would be sacred as a prophet anyway, so that's not really a bonus. I was going to say you could take your bless with that, but they both are already sacred. So yeah, I'm a little iffy on that one. I like the Hawkmeister here. If you went with one of these other guys, I would strongly consider getting them like some black steel plate, a black steel helmet, and a shield ASAP, just to keep your prophet alive, or try to, like I do. So overall, very happy here. National items and spells. As for national items, I didn't see anything, but I didn't actually scrape too hard. Again, the inspector was not updated as of this video, so I wouldn't expect anything here. I don't believe Roos had anything either. For spells, we actually have quite a large amount, but they're basically the Roosian summons plus a little bit more. I'm not going to go too into detail these. A few of them are useful, like the Samaro. These are those flying dogs. We could, in theory, get them, but we don't have any native air income, so the odds are low. Firebirds are a cool strategy, but we don't have natively a way to cast those. Sirens, we don't natively have. We could do Sloth of Bears, we could do Herd of Moose. Neither one of these is like exceptional. They do help with some decently efficient siege strength though, and we do have 2 nature gems natively. So I think you do okay on those if you just wanted the siege strength. I don't know if I would bother with them otherwise. Again, Raskolka, Vadanoi, we again just can't natively cast either one of those. Same with the Alcoholist, same with the Lyco, the Zemai, Lady Midday, Bukovac. Just none of these are available for us actually to cast. You could make a pretender that could do it, but I don't think that's worthwhile. I believe the Llama is new, and we actually could do this one. Glamour 2, Nature 2 can only be cast in forests and cave forests. I don't have a picture of this one, but what it is a mage. It's like a weird like bird goat lady, and she has, I believe it is Nature 2, Glamour 2, Earth 2 are her paths. So for 35 glamour gems, that's not a bad deal, and we can natively do it. But the problem is 35 glamour gems, I could get almost, in fact, I could get more than 2 casts of Fey Knights. That's going to be difficult. That's going to be really difficult to compete, especially when she doesn't really bring any new pathing. Our mages can already kind of do that. Beyond those, we do have the Cloud Villa, the Mountain Villa, and Alishi. Again, we basically can't do any of these. In addition, we have, I think it's enchantment. We do have Gift of the Moon. This is an Ulmish spell. It grants wolves and only wolves 15 invulnerability. It's an AoE 1. I have literally no idea why you would ever cast this spell, because I could if I had an Astral 1 mage, I could just give Body Ethereal. It's countered by the same things. I personally believe Body Ethereal is better than 15 invulnerability on a wolf. Your mileage may vary. I just don't know. I guess maybe if this could affect the werewolf guys, but I don't think it does. So I have literally no idea why this spell exists. If nothing else, Illwinter should change this so it's like a large area of effect, like AoE 3+ maybe. And that goes for the Ulmish versions too, because I just don't know why this spell exists. Popping out of that though, for generic magic, I definitely would say Conjuration to 3, because we're going to want to be able to summon Earth power. Very, very important for all of our Earth mages. In addition, the glamour summons are something that we actually care about. So we can do cave cobbles, which can give you extra resources if you're in a cave or you have a mine. Fey folk could be pretty useful. They added a new Fey folk spell we'll talk about here in a minute. The Fey Knights are the main one. Because we're going to almost guaranteed be in the cold, we're going to get Unseelie Knights who have cold power. Very, very powerful cavalry. Is a nice supplement to our moose numbers. So I definitely think that that is something to think about. Beyond that, sleepers are pretty good leaders, although we don't really need pretty good leaders. They're fine though if you wanted to use them. Gnomes, again, this breaks us into glamour, nature, earth, but we already do glamour, nature, earth. So I don't think these are one that we care about here. A Fey Prince is a leader version of the knights. He's fine, but again, I could do 6 knights for one of those. I don't know about that. Wild Hunt is something that we are kind of set up to do. We'd have to do a lot of climbing though. Like if you got a Glamour 2, Nature 2, he could do a Thistle Mace. He could get up to 4 relatively easy with boosters, but then we still need 1 more Glamour somehow. So could be difficult to do, can be hilarious. Our early era Jabulba game was absolutely wrecked by an enemy casting Wild Hunt because our capital was in a forest. So I just literally couldn't recruit Sacreds anymore. That sucked. We also could do Fairy Court. We could do this natively with a couple boosters. Pretty good. You get a lot out of this, including some mages. Yeah, this is pretty good. I would consider this at least. In Alteration, the Earth and the Glamour buffs and the Nature buffs are all great here. Eagle Eyes being a handy spell. The Bark Skin can be nice for your Nature mages if you don't have the Earth around. If you do have the Earth buffs are very good here. Being able to throw out either larger Bark Skin or Stone Skin or Iron Skin, all of which are pretty handy. Destruction, Curse of Stones. If you're fighting people in really heavy armor, this can really help fatigue them out quickly, because we're also going to fatigue out pretty quickly. So just be aware of that. Moving beyond those, we do have Lightning Resist available to us, which can be handy. Maws of the Earth is a good spell. Shatter, you could try to blow up inanimate fighters if you have any that you're fighting. If you do go high in nature, Mother Oak is also here. Maybe you really want to spam that Summon Moose spell. Well, there you go. Even higher, we're looking at like Ironbane. Be careful with Ironbane. All of our stuff is iron, so you probably want to stay away from that. Wooden Warriors, Giant Warriors. This isn't terrible. We have a lot of guys who dual wield, so the attack density lowering of using this isn't the worst. Gives them extra HP, gives them extra strength. I don't hate this as long as you're casting it generally on your dual wielders. As you can see here, 30% extra HP and 3 strength. That is nothing to sniff at. That's quite a big boost there. Marble Warriors, again, could be handy. With work, we could make our way up into some of this bigger stuff. In Evocation, Blade Wind is an unfortunate side effect of going up this for glamour if you want to go that route. So just be aware of that. On the glamour front, we actually would maybe try to get Dreamless Slumber. Probably not. But the one I want to call out is the Dance of Ephemeral Swords. With one glamour gem, our Moose commanders could cast this. Very, very strong self buff for a thuggy type guy. You get 3 extra attacks and they do a false damage. They do have magic resist on them, but that's, you know, whatever. That's pretty spooky. That's pretty spooky. Ephemeral bolts, again, if we're twilighting, we can take our glamour 2s to 3 relatively easily. So they have that. Ditto with Illusionary Army. Very, very strong spell. If the enemy doesn't have magic weapons, it's hard to deal with illusionary armies. Like, they are surprisingly resilient, and you can drop ephemeral blasts into things that are being held up by that. False horrors, again, just being able to do some fear strategies relatively easily. While we don't natively have Wailing Winds, we could bootstrap our way into that. Again, just fear stuff is very, very strong. I don't think you'd hate that. Also, I will call out here, because we have spammable nature 2s, Breath of the Dragon is another pretty good one. It's armor negating, magic poison damage. Good, you get 4+ of them. Pretty darn good. You can Eagle Eyes, so you can negate that precision debuff. This could be pretty nasty, actually. One of the better spells I think our Antlered Shaman could maybe do. Construction, of course, is going to be all those boosters, all those research items, all the thug items for your Hawkmeisters. In addition, I do think it might be interesting to go all the way to Construction 6. That gets us to Legions of Steel. A little hard. We're not natively going to get to 4, but we can get to 3 with just self-buffing and then spend 2 gems to just give our entire map +3 protection. I do like this quite a bit. And then that frees up your other Earth Mages to do like Strength of Giants or Weapons of Sharpness. Very, very handy there. If you do have a Pretender with High Earth, Forge of the Ancients also gives us a 20% cost reduction. So you can basically get to the point where I think you spend 1 gem to craft items that your smiths can craft if they have a Dwarven Hammer along with it. Very, very nice. Also, all mages craft as if they had Master Smith. So now your Fire 1s and Air 1s are now Fire 2s and Air 2s. Might be relevant. Just lets you do other things. Very, very handy there. In enchantment, we have a couple things that are maybe a little outside of the norm. Proud Steed is a really good buff for our Moose. The extra defense is appreciated. The extra morale is not bad, but the magic resist is really nice. Remember, they have 9 natively. This takes them to 10. That patches a hole. I mean, it's not a strong magic resist, but at least you're not weak to it anymore. You're back to just average. I do think I value that relatively highly. Getting that on those guys really does help them out. Gift of the Hare is another one that isn't terrible. Doubles their combat speed. Gets them out and moving. If you did have a Hawkmeister and you gave him 1 gem, a nature gem, he could cast Personal Regeneration. Again, that's a strong spell that he could cast. Yeah, it costs gems, but that's, you know, if it's a key battle, it might be worth doing. Beyond that, we have like Heal, Regeneration. Immaculate Mounts is the bigger Proud Mount buff. This is, again, pretty handy. If you were, let's say, you've got your commander and 2 to 5 bodyguards. With 1 gem, he could cast this and hit several of them, maybe even do it twice. I don't know. Could be pretty handy. I do think that's worth at least considering. Beyond that, Group Regeneration, another nice little buff. Probably looking at, that one's going to have to be one of like our Antlered Shamans or something. For Glamour, Shroud of Bewilderment. Again, give that Hawkmeister a single Glamour gem. This is an incredibly powerful one. We use this on a lot of the like Vanir nations that have like Vanjarls, or et cetera, et cetera. They have to do an MR check. If they fail, there will be no strike, so they don't attack you, and they do a random action. This can result in them hitting you, but it could also be they move, they do nothing, they go stunned, they hit a friendly unit. This is very strong. Very strong. I would consider that strongly, no pun intended, if you're going to do some thugging with those guys. True Sight can be handy for yourself. Steel Sight lets you blind people. Again, that can be useful there. If we look at the earth buffs in enchantment, of course, this is going to be giant strength. I mean, everyone likes to be stronger, but we have a lot of dual wielders who would appreciate the extra strength on their already hard-hitting attacks. Earth Shatter Hammers, we do have people who use blunt and slash weapons. Can allow you to stun things. I think generally speaking, we hit hard enough that we probably just want to kill things, but it could be relevant. More relevant is probably weapons of sharpness. This makes you deal AP damage. This is what crossbows do. So you would do the thing where you half their protection. Makes things get cut through like butter. Absolute just crazy buff that I don't really use enough. I definitely should do more. Although, again, you need that Earth 3 to be able to do it. And it's only size 1. To get that to be better, you'd have to go up to Steel Slice Warriors, which you could totally do. 2 Earth Gems to do an AoE 20 plus. Totally worth it. Totally worth it. If you are going down this route, we also have the Earth Blood Deep Well. Could be pretty handy there. Thaumaturgy, again, one that we don't normally see too much use, at least for me, has some good stuff. Glamour stuff, Fascination is just a nice early spell to kind of stun people. Personal Luck and the other luck buffs can be good. The Beast Fury, you could buff your moose with extra attack and morale. Can be pretty nice there. Despair is a pretty powerful fear effect if you can get that off. Confusion can be pretty handy. Visions of Death is almost a soul slay for all intents and purposes. Again, can be pretty darn powerful there. Charm allows us to be able to steal units. Battle Fortune, again, a little bit of work to get here, but this gives an AoE 20 plus luck to a lot of units. If you like No More, I don't like No More. I think it's too expensive, but that does exist. And for nature stuff, Panic isn't the worst. Beast Fury, if you, again, more buffing on our moose. Touch of Madness, if the enemy has different units that can be susceptible to that. Rage of the Corner Rat, we can make our moose go into Berserker Rage. That is hilarious and pretty cool. Overall, I would say we have pretty good magic. Because of Twilight, we can get easy access to relatively consistent Glamour 3s. We have relatively consistent Nature 2s and Earth 2s. Great magic pathing that just can mainly focus on buffs, but does have some offensive abilities too. So overall, I think we are in a really good place for magic on the nation. Okay, let's bring all that together. Zemaitia is a nation that, while they have primitive forts, still can build castles, so that is excellent. They have recruit out of forest type troops. You can see like right here, look what I'm getting out of this place. And I haven't even come back here in a while, so I could even get one more. That's ridiculous for just a random forest that I can recruit. While you're building a fort, if you happen to be in a forest, you could still do the same thing. Look at all these troops that I've got while I've been building this fort. Pretty darn nice. You're definitely going cold, so you'll have the walking across rivers ability. If you have the snow move on your troops, you can also go through mountain passes. I don't have an example here, but oh yeah, I do right here. You can go through mountain passes that are closed due to the snow. So again, that's pretty darn powerful. We are pretty limited though in our recruit. If you look here, I'm decently far into the game, so I'm up to 8. But I can still, at the beginning of the game, you're looking at this and like a few of these guys as your recruits. So that could be a little bit painful depending on how married to the idea of doing Sylvan Knight expansion you are. I don't think you have to do that though. Our troops are fine. Ideally, I think you want to use the Chude Warriors as your expanders, although there's arguments to be made about the Skin Shifters or even the Pikes, depending on the target. I do think the crossbowmen are just too darn expensive at the beginning, but later on, you're definitely going to be happy if you have 100 of these guys firing into some heavy enemy troops, for sure. It's just hard to mask them otherwise. Pretenders and scale design. For scales, remember we have a cold limit of +1 and a magic limit of +1. For chassis, we have a decent amount here, kind of the Northern Gods plus a few specials, and then a decent smattering of Dom 1s. I would say of note, the Great Enchantress could be interesting. Gives you the glamour access, gives you glamour gem generation, can be pretty powerful, especially if you want to go the route of summoning in Fey Knights. That would be an option. Maybe a Great Sage could be interesting. Gives you some astral access you otherwise don't have. We don't have any magic weapons. That's something kind of note. Maybe he just comes in with like magic weapons, and then you could get his extra research plus the magic scales and really zip to something that you want to research. We do have the Eldest Dwarf and the Svartov Mastersmith, both of which are okay choices. I think Frostfather is another one that has a lot of viability here. He's relatively cheap, comes in with air and water right off the bat. Makes some pretty hefty things there. Rainbow in prisons or awake sight searchers, those type of dudes. Going up to Dom 2, we do have the Lenomor. He's a perfectly fine guy. A lot of these have sloth, and I don't like it. We really, really, really need production. And even though we have the smiths who we could add extra production to our forts, because we have troops that come out of forests that are so good, but need a lot of production, I like the production skills quite a lot. I would be very hard pressed to make a build with something that needed sloth on it. If you did want to go expander, which I don't think you do, I think you could be looking at a thrice-horned boar could be something. He could take larger. I would probably just give him larger, or maybe hard skin blast. Make sure you take 2 nature so that he can give himself regen. I just don't think you need it. Unfortunately, all the memes aside, also I will note we did get Ghost Moose before we got Bear. How do we not have a Bear Pretender? Elwinter, you're killing me. Yeah, these just aren't particularly great. Nature 1, Glamour 1. He is a Trampler. He does have recuperation, but only 12 protection. Barkskin's not going to be enough protection. Larger's not going to save you. Personal regen's not going to save you. He has 1d6 moose. I don't know if those are sacred or not. If they are sacred, if the moose summons is sacred, that might help, but I don't see it, frankly. And Ghost Moose, unfortunately, as cool and memey as he would be, he brings Astral, he brings Glamour. If you're going to be Astral, you almost have to go up to Astral 5 or 6 to be safe from magic duels. What are you going to do for a Bless? Well, it could be magic weapons. Maybe you go Ethereal for your Moose, but that's a really expensive Bless for not very many dudes. In an age where a lot of people are going to look at taking magic weapons because of Lemuria, I don't know about that. He is, of course, Ethereal. He has Spirit Form, so a lot of the buffs that otherwise we could give him for protection won't work. This just ain't it. At least he's only 110. If you were going to do a Bless that used Astral and Glamour, I guess he does have a lot more HP than a human chassis would. He does have Dom 2 natively. Sure. He's going to take magic weapons and I don't know, something out of Glamour, some heroism maybe. I guess I could see that. He does have Stealth 40, so he can go sight searching relatively safely. He does have Recoup, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of him, unfortunately. Moving up to Dom 3, I think you'd be fine if you want to take a Titan, maybe a Dormant Titan, so they can pop out and save you from a year 1 war with a little bit of gear or something. We're probably going up construction anyways. I think some things of note here is the Duwu of farming, because he gives you that extra productivity scale. I'm going to show you a build of him, so we won't go in here, but productivity scale and the nature gem gen, I don't hate that. He is 220, but you're probably, if I'm building him, I'm probably building him imprisoned. Beyond him, we do have the Healing Springs. She gives you a site that has healer on it. That actually could be kind of interesting. We do have those really, really heavy troops, and the Sacreds especially tend to rack up different afflictions. So she could, both her and the site can help heal that. I don't hate that. Again, I don't know exactly what you're blessing with these, but our Sacreds don't necessarily need a huge bless. So maybe we just like set her up to do some Water Kobold and some Sylvan Knight summons, or Fey Knight, excuse me, Fey Knight summons. Comes in at like Dormant just for the bonus points. I don't hate that. You could do something there. She's only 60 points for an extra path too. Dom 4, Idol Sorcery is a very, very strong pretender, but we already have magic bonus, so I don't think we get that here. That would be kind of wasted. I'm going to show you an Irminsul. I think he would be good if you just want to go regen, basically. Depending on Bless, these other ones are fine TM. So overall, not the worst. There's definitely things to do here. I wish we had some more non-sloth options in Dom 2. That's a little disappointing there, I would say. Let's take a look at a couple of guys that I did build. So starting us off, Old Oak. This is just a super duper cheap regeneration chassis. Do note the sight he has gives you just one nature gem gen, just automatically, even if you had him imprisoned. He has maximum production. I do take cold 3 on everybody. I don't mind that, but it's a minor amount of pop kill. And unless you're fighting against somebody who really likes cold like Atlantis, then it's totally fine. Has a little bit of turmoil just to help pay for things, and 2 luck and 3 magic. So we're hoping for some big gem items, maybe even like some mages could be handy there. He has Ivy Lord, so if you did want to make some Ivy summons, he'd be fine at that. Overall, his main thing is just cheap regeneration more than anything else. I wasn't a huge fan of him. Next up, we have Chad the Farmer. Again, this is that Dubu of farming. His main thing was the extra production, which is notable here. I do like that. He actually is dormant. Being dormant, I took Berserker. I don't mind Berserker. Some people just get really twisted up about their mages going Berserk. And yeah, especially if you're playing in multiplayer, players are going to be a lot better than the AI doing that to you. But even then, I think it's okay. I didn't love this one, but the Berserk Moose are pretty good. They're such strong chassis that just by nature of not running away, you can win battles. It also just ups their already good damage even more. He didn't really bring much else other than he can cast Mother Oak in a pinch. Next, I'm going to look at Mother of Fates. Her main deal was I wanted to bring in more of the glamour side of the nation. Fey Knight summons, but also the Gate of Ivory. I believe that's what it's called, the Gem Gen thing in Thaumaturgy for glamour. I also gave her a little smattering of other things for some utility. This lets her Wailing Wind. That's pretty powerful. The High Astral means that we can make some magic pin items. Glamour has a lot of magic save things that would really appreciate that. I also kind of wanted to try to make the magic weapons work. You could totally shift this around. I couldn't do it point-wise, so I gave him solar weapons. Solar weapons are not particularly great, but at least that gives me something against Lemuria if I had to fight him. And I took Arcane Finesse for the reason of her main thing was to make it more of a glamour nation. So we're looking at trying to do Twilight relatively early. And for the final one, we're going to have a Sacrifice. This is a monolith. It's been a long time since I've used this. This used to be my go-to, but I haven't done one in a long time, and I actually kind of like this build quite a bit. This was the test game I enjoyed the most. So this is a monolith. He's imprisoned, and he's bringing in some of the usual imprisoned suspects. So we went with Earth 5, Astral 5, Nature 5, and Blood 4. No, we don't natively have any blood. I'm not planning on breaking into blood. I just wanted the blesses from it. And this is going to get larger, enchanted blood, and blood surge. Larger, again, that extra 30% HP is pretty significant on our sacreds. We start with 20 HP on the leader, and so that's going to give him 26. That's quite a bit. The +1 size means that our moose goes up to 7, so we still can share the square with a normal human-sized troop, so we didn't lose anything there. The extra strength, again, just plays into having 3 attacks on that sacred unit in total, and just makes them very hard hitting. The -1 defense skill, we're more of a protection unit than a defense unit anyways. And the extra map move is actually kind of relevant if you're running around with just the leader and some bodyguards to expand. So that's pretty handy. In addition, the enchanted blood gives us a little bit of regen. Is this enough to save us from dying in certain situations? No, but it'll help against the chip damage that most of the time we're going to take. In addition, it gives us +1 magic resistance. That takes that moose up to 9, and if you can proud steed them, that takes it up to 11. Now we're not nearly as worried about getting the animal spells or mind blasts or whatever else is going to hit them. That really takes the edge off of that. And finally, blood surge. Blood surge is just stupidly efficient stats. I'm still shocked that this is not a incarnate bless, frankly. So the extra 3 attack means our 3 high quality attacks are even better. If you went with a repel weapon, you're even better at repelling. The extra strength, again, just compounding onto that. So that's going to be 6 extra strength between larger and blood surge. That is ridiculous amounts of strength. The extra defense helps a little bit just to negate that, and some extra reinvigoration, which is nice because we are pretty heavy troops and we will wear ourselves out. So just very, very efficient stats from all 3 of these, frankly. In addition, we have good stat line, in my opinion. I didn't go with any turmoil here. I do think you could, but in this one, I wanted to make sure that I could get 3 maybe plus a leader out of my capital, and I was worried about recruitment points at that point. Of course, the production 2, the cold 3 is standard for me on this nation. It's free points, basically, in my opinion. You could remove this around, maybe give yourself a turmoil and give yourself a growth. The cold death, 1 heat scale of death is about half a death scale. Conversely, if we had growth 1, we could basically negate the death from the cold. If you don't like that, you could totally do that. Longer games, that might be more important. But the extra fortune and, of course, the extra magic. So again, our sacreds are going to be absolutely bonkers in Magic 3. We're going to have a total of 9 extra strength, 6 extra attack. That is bananas amounts of stats for these sacreds. So these things can be quite beastly as long as they're in your magic scales. So very, very handy there. For the monolith itself, we have some global potential: Eyes of God, Mother Oak, Riches from Beneath. In addition, because we have the Astral, we can actually teleport around or gate if we wanted to, which is handy. We only going to have our Prophet. We don't have any other Holy Threes. We don't have good water access. We do have a native summons that we can also do with Astral. If you do luck into some pearls, being able to summon in Holy Threes would be very, very nice and save you having to teleport your monolith around. So I like this guy. I feel like he's just budget stats on a heavy scales build that has some late game potential to maybe be able to squeeze out a couple Holy Threes that would really help cinch up the game if we're rushing for thrones. So overall, I quite like Sacrifice here. I think it's a pretty cool little build and fits with the nation pretty well. In conclusion, Zemaitia is a very fun nation. I like that we have a offshoot of Ulm, along with a branching in of those chudes. So we have kind of the Rus line have another branch too. So kind of an interesting concept here. I like it's my style of troops, right? Like heavy troops, and I have crossbows available, even if they're a little on the expensive side. I like heavy cavalry. The magic is very usable. We can do some crafting. If you are somebody who likes to go with lots of summons and you're willing to chance it, maybe an awake sight searcher that's main goal is to like get into those other summons could be a thing. I think that's too much of a risk, but it could be a thing. Overall, I think it's a really fun nation. Very, very cool. I do wish we had a little bit more availability for some of the summons, but you can't have everything all the time. So yeah, I think that's fine. I do think this is a stronger nation. Good recruit anywhere mages and troops really helps that out. It'll be interesting to see where it falls for people. Also, it'd be interesting if people really dig into the moose or if they consider the moose to be a bit of a trap. I could definitely see playing the nation without the moose at all, sad as that is to say, and just concentrating on other things, because he is, at almost 100 resources a pop, he kind of dominates your cap economy, which is a little unfortunate. Okay, builders, if you enjoyed this one, don't forget to leave a like on the video. That helps me a ton. If you're not currently a subscriber, I hope I've earned your subscription. I'd love to have you back. And if you want to go above and beyond, you can always leave a super thanks on a VOD, join me live for a super chat, check out the Patreon linked in the channel description, or become a member here on YouTube. As a member on YouTube, you get early access to videos I'm working on. Usually that means Dominion's pre-games, but it could be other things I'm working on at the time. There's also a Discord that you can join from the channel info. Welcome to hop on in there. I do at everyone announcements when I'm going to go live. So if you find YouTube unreliable for getting notified, that's a way you can get those notifications. We have a new nation. I'm super interested to see what builds people are playing around with. If you found any secret tech that I missed, let me know in the comments. I'm really looking forward to this one. Very, very cool addition, Illwinter. Give me a bear pretender, please. Illwinter, come on. You got to do it. You got to do it, Illwinter. All right. Later, builders.